Welcome to the Investor Shed Podcast with Nick Beveridge, the ultimate source for all things investing and beyond. For free tools, tips, and tricks, go to northidahorei.com. Today's podcast features Danny O'Bannon. Danny is the owner of Sell It Simple, one of the largest virtual wholesaling companies in the Northwest. He talks of growing up, negotiating, and how he got to where he is today.
Each other down.
Yes. This is how I like to awkwardly start every podcast. Danny O'Bannon. You're another local legend in the area.
Wow, yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
I mean, I'll take it for sure.
By far the sexiest.
Definitely, I can't argue that.
Yeah, looking good. How you doing?
Good, man. It's good to be on here. This is cool. I know you've had some high-level people on here, so yeah, some good company.
Well, I'm glad you're here. So, all right. So, Sell It Simple is your main business, right? You guys are doing quite a bit of wholesaling, mostly.
Yeah, man. So, Sell It Simple. That's the wholesale company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the core focus. We have some other companies that we can get into as well, but Sell It Simple is, we built out the wholesaling in, and so that's we do about 15 deals a month, anywhere from 10 to 15.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah. But we're in 5 markets, so that helps a little bit.
Gotcha. All over the Northwest, right?
So far, yeah. We're in Tacoma, Tri-Cities, Spokane, North Idaho, and Boise.
Nice. So, if you don't mind, take me way back.
Way back, okay.
Way back to high school days. What did you think back in high school you would get into real estate someday?
No, man, no way. So,
what were you doing?
High school, I was kind of a wild kid. I kind of got to a point where, I knew I wanted to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in a single mom of 6 kids, and that definitely shaped my childhood a little bit.
Wow. So, you have 5 siblings?
5 siblings, yeah, man.
Are you the oldest, youngest?
I'm the 4th.
The 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of in the middle.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, man, so that shaped me a little bit. I've always wanted to be successful because we weren't poor, but we definitely struggled a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And so I had a friend whose dad was like at the time I didn't really know what he did, but he was a day trader. And so I just thought he invested, and I just, I kind of learned early on that you can trade your time for dollars or you can leverage money, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn investing somehow, and I remember even in high school, my mom bought me a course for $200 to learn stocks, and it was just such a basic course, it didn't really get me anywhere.
Oh, okay.
But early on...
Was it a course that you went to physically to go?
No, it's just
or is it an online course?
Online course, yeah. So
wow.
I'd get out of class at high school, and I'd go home and be in my mom's basement, just studying, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my mom, she worked 7 days a week, all night, all day, weekends. And so she instilled in all of us just a really hard work ethic, So
Mm-hmm. What kind of work was she doing?
She owns a janitorial cleaning business.
Nice. Okay, so she's an entrepreneur.
She is, yeah, man. She, she had no choice. She just had to fend, so she just kind of fought and scrapped her way to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to school, try to figure out some scheme after school.
Yeah.
And then from 6 to 11 o'clock at night, I was actually cleaning buildings with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Okay. So you're a very busy kid.
Yeah, so it kept me out of trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
I was still getting in trouble, but it probably saved me a lot too,
Yeah.
So I had that mindset, and, in the beginning it was if you want to be successful, you got to go to college, right? And so I was all right, well, if you have to get a degree, I'm just going to get 2 degrees and be twice as successful, That's what I thought, So college took me a while just because I always wanted to work. So It took me 6 years to get done. Graduated with a degree in finance and business management and a minor in economics. And then in college, I had a lawn mowing business, which was cool because at that time, podcasts had just kind of come out.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it was. And so while I was mowing lawns, I would, listen to podcasts, and I was trying to find podcasts about, stocks so I could learn that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just searching through podcasts, and I found podcasts on real estate. And that's how I found that, real estate and wholesaling and investing.
Do you remember what show that was?
It was by Joe McCall and Sean Terry. Those are like the first two I ever listened to.
Okay.
I can't think of Sean's is Flip to Freedom and Joe McCall's is like Real Estate Investing Mastery or something.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so I would just be, I'd go to college, I'd get out, I'd go mow lawns for like 6 hours straight, and I'd just be listening to podcasts, learning as much as I could. And then from there, I started joining Facebook groups and seeing kind of what people were doing.
Yeah.
People were posting, wholesale checks for like 20 grand, and I'm like 21 at the time. Like, whoa, if these people can do it, like,
yeah,
maybe I can, So that's kind of how I got started and like found real estate, was through podcast. It got to a point where it was like 3 months into it, I was like, okay, I'm not going to learn any more without actually trying to do it. So I got to start trying to do this, So I finally just started trying to figure it out. I actually started with lease options, which is more of like a technical strategy. So it's a little bit harder when you're new,
Yeah.
And
So do you remember the first thing you ended up doing? I mean, did you do your own marketing immediately? Did you send out letters, or did you start knocking doors?
the very first thing I did was just go on Craigslist and call sellers.
Okay.
And the first deal I put together was a sandwich lease option.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so you basically get a seller to lease option their house, and then you find a lease option buyer.
Yep.
And so if you're guaranteeing the seller like $400 a month, you're getting a lease option buyer that's guaranteeing you $800 a month, and they're giving you like an option deposit, right?
Yeah.
I had no clue what I was doing. Like, I should not have been doing it, and I just made it work. And the buyer that I found didn't even have enough money for the option deposit. I think they were going to give me like $6,000. So I even created a note for the $6,000. And that was my first deal.
Wow.
And it fell apart like within like a month. And the sellers like ended up calling me saying that I was like a scam artist, And I was like, am I? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, Like, this is just what I learned on a podcast.
So did you forget to tell them up front what you were doing?
I don't think I told them that I was going to like sublet it. I was
Okay.
like probably too scared,
Right.
I mean, I had it disclosed in the contracts, but I definitely probably didn't
Explain it
thoroughly,
Right.
And so it scared me because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, This is crazy. And so then I was like, I knew about wholesaling, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna give that a shot. And so I had at the time I had a credit card. I think the balance was like I had like $1,000 or something that I could spend.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a $500 course that said send yo letters to absentee owners, and I spent the rest of the $500 on marketing, just on a credit card or something.
Like just mail marketing?
Yeah, just direct mail, sending, they call it yo letters. It's basically a
Yeah.
letter on a legal pad that you send out to sellers.
Do you remember what you wrote on the legal pad, or did you make copies? Or?
It was probably just like, hey, I want to buy your house at 123 Main Street. Give me a call.
Okay, so you kept it real simple.
Yeah. And that was a process because, you're sending out these letters and you're getting these calls and you don't know what you're doing, right? Like, you're talking to sellers and I'm feeling like an idiot. And after a couple months of doing that, I was definitely getting, beat up about it. I was like, man, I don't know if this works. I don't know if I don't know if I should be doing this. And finally I had a deal where the seller's like, well, if you want to buy my house, you got to come see it. And I did not want to come, like I was like, all right. So I made an appointment. The day comes, I have the appointment. And I'm just thinking, like, I shouldn't go. Like, I'm just going to make an ass of myself. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go. I had a realtor send me, like, investment comps, like cash comps.
Yeah.
And so I went to the house. It's like your normal 50s rancher with the basement, like kind of bread and butter flip. And I just kind of walked with the seller, showed her the comps, and thankfully, I just asked her, based on these comps, how much do you want for the house? And she was like, well, how about $50,000? So I was like, okay. So I signed a contract right there.
What year was this?
This was back in 2012.
2012, okay.
Yep.
Was $50,000 pretty low?
It was a smoking deal, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was a good deal, yeah. I mean, obviously now it would be a great deal, but I didn't know it at the time. I had no idea.
At the time, it was still a smoking deal.
At the time, at the time it was a great deal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I just thought, well, maybe I can get an investor to pay me like 55. That's all I wanted to make was $5,000 because I didn't know what I had.
That's what you're taught in the courses initially, right? You make $5,000 per wholesale.
Yeah, right.
Maybe 10 if you're doing $1 million.
Exactly.
Wholesale.
Yeah. And so And what's funny is I even wrote down $100 earnest money, and I had to go borrow the earnest money from my brother-in-law, and then I drove it to her house, the seller's actual house, and gave her $100 that I had to borrow from somebody because I didn't know that you're supposed to deposit it with a title company,
Right. Yeah.
So, whatever. But and then I leading up to that, I'd actually met Jake, who you had recently interviewed, Jacob Evans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took him out to lunch and kind of picked his brain and found out what he was doing. So I just gave him a call and was like, "Hey, man, I have this house. Would you want to come look at it?" And so he looked at it, and again, I got lucky because I didn't say I wanted $55,000.
Yeah.
I asked him, like, "Hey, what do you think you can pay?" And he's like, "Oh, I think I can pay 70." I was like, "Oh," inside I'm like, "Holy cow!"
Nice.
And so it worked out, man. He paid $70,000, and I made $20,000, and he went off. I think he did like $12,000 in repairs and made like $25,000.
So let's recap your negotiation skills here.
Yeah.
You show up to this lady's house and you show her some comps and you ask her to give you a price.
Right.
She says 50. And then you're like, okay, good.
Yeah. So there are some.
And then you go to another guy who's very experienced. How much would you pay?
Yeah.
And he gives you a number. So you're not. Do you still use this strategy today?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Seemed to work.
Yeah, I mean, it worked, to an extent. But what was funny is like after the deal closed and I talked to Jake, he was like, I probably would have paid more for that. Like,
More than 70.
Yeah, but you make $20,000 on your first deal at 22 years old. Like I was happy.
It's got to feel good.
And it gave me proof that like, okay, you can do this. This really works.
Yeah.
Which is what you need when you're getting started because you're trying to do it, you're failing, and you just keep pushing and pushing. So to get that first deal is always huge for any newbie investor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to the negotiation part, I mean, the good thing was, the first person that says price loses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you could always push further and, if someone says 50 now and I know I can do it, I'm going to be like, 50? Man, okay. Is that the best you can do? So I've come
Everybody can always do a little better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but it worked out.
Even when they say this is my final offer, they
Right.
can still probably do a little better.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that propelled me into real estate. I did 9 deals my first year, and then like the 9th deal I took down as a flip, and that was a huge learning process. I didn't even know where I was going to come up with the money to rehab it because I was living off the wholesale revenue, marketing off the wholesale revenue, and then I was going to flip this house and I have to pay. I only got a loan for the purchase, right? So I had to come up with the renovation.
Well, so could we go back a little bit? I'm curious so when you got into it initially with marketing, and then so how'd you find Jacob Evans? Or
so I found him on Craigslist.
Okay.
He had I don't know what he had. He had some sort of post on Craigslist, and at the time I was like, wow, there's people doing this. There's other people doing this in this market. I didn't think that this was like such a known thing. At the time, so I was so shocked.
So was he like your main buyer that whole first year, or did you have like where'd you find other investors to wholesale deals to?
Yeah, so he bought like a good handful of them.
Okay.
But I started going to RIAs, meeting people.
Okay.
I would just straight hustle though. If I got a deal, I remember I got a 4-unit and I put bandit signs out everywhere, just saying I had a 4-unit for sale.
Mm-hmm.
I put stuff on Craigslist. And so, that's how I just did it in the beginning. I didn't know like all the ninja tricks to build a buyer's list, So it was just like brute force of getting out there, meeting people and, kind of the guerrilla marketing. So
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
So first year you did 9 deals, and then what did your second year look like?
It just went up from there. The thing that happened though was when I got that flip, I thought, okay, well I'll just keep getting wholesale deals. I just believed that it would happen,
Yeah.
But the problem was all my money was going into the rehab and all my time was going into it. Like I'd be there swinging a hammer, doing demo, like tearing off the roof.
Yeah.
I remember we were in the middle of winter, like we were out there digging an egress window hole. We had like a flamethrower to like loosen up the ground so we could dig, and that's what I didn't know, I didn't know any better to like leverage
You didn't realize
your
fix and
time.
flips suck?
Oh, it did. No, it took me a while to learn that for some reason.
Took me a while too.
Yeah.
I'm still...
I'm still going through with those. But so that took me off my game a little bit, and I actually ended up having to go back and get a job.
Oh, wow.
And so I finally graduated college because I was doing this in college. And I ended up getting a full-time job, and I'd get off at 3 o'clock, and I would just work all night trying to find deals.
Yeah.
And within 3 months of having that job, I had made like double my annual salary in 3 months in wholesaling. So I was like, all right, I just quit and went right back into it full-time.
This is when you sold that flip? Or?
This was like a year. This is probably my second to third year in the business.
Okay.
When I had to go back and get a job.
Yeah.
And then from there, after 3 months, I was able to go back full-time. And then it was just like off and running. You know, I was just doing wholesale deals and
Okay.
doing flips. But before I built this strong wholesale company, you know, I kind of went back and forth. Like I was doing flips and I was doing wholesales. I was just trying to think like, what can I do here to make more money? And so I would just think like, well, if I wholesale deal and I make 15 grand, my buyer makes 30 grand. Like, why don't I just buy all my deals and I'll make 45 grand? Like I'll make double, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when I learned that scaling a rehabbing business is hard. Like, it's hard for me for two reasons. One, I suck at construction. I suck at managing contractors. Like it's just not my thing. I'm just not good at that kind of stuff. And it's really capital intensive. And, you know, I'd buy like 5 rehabs, but I'd only have like 1 or 2 crews. So I'd be sitting on all these houses just waiting to get started, you know?
Yeah.
And so I kind of made a mess of the business for like a year and a half. And then I was like, all right, scaling a rehabbing company, it's not impossible. Like people do it. You know, we have a speaker coming out to our area who does 30 flips a month. So, you know, it's definitely possible. It's just for me, I'm not good at that. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to try to scale a wholesaling company. And that's kind of what led me to where I'm at now, right? Where we have a team, we're in 5 markets, we're doing multiple deals a month. But it took me, you know, a couple years. It's probably been about a year and a half, 2 years into trying to figure out like that model.
Yeah.
And that consisted of what I did is I went all across the country to different masterminds, and I met tons of people, and I got to see what was possible and, you know, what they were doing and how they were doing it. And then I just kind of took different pieces from different business models and molded it into what we have today.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So you never stopped like learning?
No.
Did you, so like annually you usually go to these conferences and stuff and different training events?
Yeah, man. I will always be a part of some sort of mastermind. I'll always be going on some sort of trip, you know, because you're always learning. There's always ways to improve. The market's always changing, right?
Yep.
And so strategies change in different markets. And so, you know, my job, especially now, you know, when you start a business, you're like, oh, I'm the CEO, right? You're really not. Like, you're an employee, and you're, like, doing the day-to-day grind. But now, now I'm in a different spot where, like, I really am kind of a CEO of a company. And I have all these employees that, you know, have families and have kids. And the success of the company is so important to so many people now.
Yeah, you're extremely responsible for these people's lives. And
yeah, man. So for me, it's so important to stay ahead of like the trend and where the market's going, and, you know, different strategies work in different markets, right? So we're kind of shifting all the time. And so, you know, I'm a huge proponent of education. And for me, I'm not a patient person. So I want to learn something as quick as possible. So, like, a lot of people might say, oh, I don't want to spend, you know, however much it costs, 10 grand to go to some event or be a part of a mastermind. But, like, what's 10 grand? That's one deal, right? And you get to learn something that's going to do, you can do for the rest of your life that's going to make you money, you know? So I think education is crucial.
it's a great investment.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, investing in yourself, you know, 100%.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what, and you have a rental portfolio as well, right?
I do, you know.
Did you build that up over time a little bit here and there, or did you like go all in one day, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so, you know, I wish I would have put more emphasis on that.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was just, I wanted to build up capital and build up like a team and scale and get things running and then kind of focus on it. So, you know, over the years I had a 4-unit that, you know, your brother actually worked on. So
I remember that one, yeah.
Which I'm kicking myself for ever selling. You know, it's such a good deal. Like,
yeah, you
right
got a
now,
fourplex, like, wasn't it under $100,000?
I bought it for like $100,000, yeah. And it was like a 1970s, like,
Yeah,
built
that seemed
4-unit.
like an insane deal.
Yeah, I mean, now I can imagine now, like
Yeah.
that would be like probably 300 grand,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I built up some rentals. I have a couple duplexes, a few single families, and so we do a little bit with Airbnbs, and then
Mhm.
we have tenants in some of them. So
Nice.
it just depends. But so I kind of testing out the Airbnb model. I haven't even been doing it a year.
Me neither. I have a couple right now, and
Yeah.
we're very new to it. We just started this year,
Yeah.
but we like it so far. It's pretty autopilot-y.
100%. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was joking the other day, like I don't even know how to log into my Airbnb account. Like I have somebody in my office that manages it.
Yeah.
She's a killer. She does a great job, and so, in the beginning it was really good. For example, I have a duplex that would rent 1,300 aside, so 2,600 a month.
Yeah.
And we bring in about $5,000 a month.
Nice.
So almost, basically double, right?
Right.
And you don't have the risk of tenants. Obviously they're trying to pass different landlord-tenant laws right now to make it harder on the landlord,
Right.
easier on the tenant.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the risk of having like a long-term tenant, where if you have like an Airbnb, you don't have to worry about like an eviction, right? Or
Really.
somebody not paying you. Airbnb, it's like guaranteed money. If they screw something up, Airbnb is going to like cover it. You just dispute through them. So I like it for that reason. I'm just learning,
Well, what happens if they stay past their due date, where they have to leave? Like if they rent for the weekend and they just stay there, are they trespassing at that point? Could you just get the cops to come and take
That's
them
a
out?
good question. I'd have to ask Alicia, who manages that. I mean, we've had that happen.
Have you?
Thankfully, we didn't have like somebody booked like that day,
Mm-hmm.
and she just told us, "Hey, I'm staying an extra day. Like, how much you want me to charge you, or how much you want me to pay you?" And it wasn't an issue. I've never had anybody like try to just stay and squat. I mean, I guess
Okay.
that's kind of an interesting. I don't know how that would play out, but
Yeah.
I think the good thing
I
is
saw it on Silicon Valley once.
Did it? So it's happened.
Had an episode about that, but
So it's happened. Okay.
no,
Yeah.
it was a fictional.
Oh, so
show.
about the show. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would play out, but so far, it's been a good strategy. We have another one up by Gonzaga, just like a little bit north of it,
Okay.
and so that one is doing pretty decent. Like we're not getting double rent. We're getting like
Right.
a little bit above what we get rent. So it's like you're kind of weighing that, like, well, I had to spend $12,000 to furnish it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how much is it worth it? So I'm still learning right now. We're still getting the data back on that. I think, I talked to somebody recently who bought one in Scottsdale. He's local to Spokane. He seems to be doing really well with that. So I think location obviously is just really huge with Airbnb.
Yeah.
Buying them like Scottsdale is necessarily, I mean, it's seasonal in some regard because it gets like super hot during the summers.
Mm-hmm.
But like Spokane is kind of seasonal, but at the same time we get people that are renting it out that are coming from all different types of reasons. I mean, they're coming for work, weddings, their kids, gymnastics. So we're still getting clients, or bookings in the winter. So it hasn't been too bad yet. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. So so you're about 8 years in now of full-time real estate.
Yep. About 8
Investor?
years. Yep.
Can you tell us about the best deal you've ever done? And what that looked like? All the goodies.
Yeah, man. I would
Can
say.
you think of do you have one that comes to mind immediately? Best deal you ever did?
It's funny because like we talk about this in the office. Like the deals you make the most on, for some reason, are like the easiest deals, and the deals where you make like your pension, you make like $10,000.
Yeah.
Are like the hardest deals.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but for
It's
me,
always that way.
I've had a couple of big swings wholesaling in Spokane, where I've made like in the one I made 52, and the other one I made like $47,000.
Mhm.
And there were deals. One I had to follow up with for like a year. And
Yeah.
I was just constantly following up and building rapport. And then the other one, lead came in the system, locked it up like probably I probably spent like 10 minutes on the phone with this guy.
Mhm.
Got under contract and sold it right away. Like had a bidding war on the property and made $57,000 or something like that. Right, somewhere in the like 52, I think maybe 53. And so, I'd say those are my best deals, like wholesaling wise.
How about rental wise?
Rental wise, I have those 2 duplexes, And so this is similar, like you talked about doing a deal similar to this, where you buy it with hard money.
Mm-hmm.
You spend a lot of time fixing it up. You get it all leased up, and then you go to a bank to refinance, right? So
Yeah.
I did that on 2 different duplexes. When I got them both fixed up, leased up, I went to a local bank, got it refinanced. So they did one loan for both the properties,
Okay.
and they gave me a 3.79 interest rate, which is like free
So
money.
is this like a commercial loan, or is this
It's a portfolio loan, so
Portfolio
it's like a loan
loan.
that they keep in house.
which bank was this?
Numerica.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, man. So
Did they? What kind? Do you mind if I ask? Did they do like a what kind of loan was it? As far as calculating your income, did they use your bank statements or did they use your tax returns?
They had me fill out a financial disclosure,
Uh-huh.
but they went off like the properties, and
Okay.
the income that can support it. So I mean, they did check my credit. They did look at like I had to fill out financials, like basically say send them like P&Ls of my company, tax returns and stuff. But they more were looking at, okay, what can this thing rent for? One of them was the Airbnb, so I had to send them like financial disclosures from Airbnb.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I mean, it was bringing in $5,000 a month. Like it's just a no-brainer for them,
Yeah.
I think it was like 75% loan to value,
Okay.
but they let me pull some cash out, so I was able to pull like $110,000 out on both, which is tax-free money, right?
Yeah. So what, could you backtrack then? What did you buy both properties for, and then how much money did you put into them?
Yeah, so I bought one for $160, put like $12,000 into it,
Okay.
and that thing I think valued at like $250 maybe.
Wow. Okay. So you got about 75,000 in equity on that one.
Yep, and then I bought another one for $153,
Okay.
and I think including the Airbnb like furniture and stuff, I think I put like 83,000 into it, including furnishing it.
Yeah.
Which furnishing is usually like 10 to 15 grand a unit.
Okay.
Is what I'm experiencing. And that one, man, I can't remember what that valued at. Like probably close to 300.
That's nice.
Yeah. So they were.
Okay.
good
So you had
deals,
decent equity in.
Yeah.
So you got a loan for 75% of what the appraised value of each one was,
Correct. Yeah.
and then any extra money. So when you got a hard money loan, did you get almost the full amount of hard money, or did you have to put all your own cash into these?
Yeah. So no. So I on one of them, I have a lender who will. Both lenders would have funded purchase and renovation. At the time, I just didn't need it on the other one, or didn't
Okay.
think I needed it. I wish I would have got it because it ended up being more renovation than I thought, and then I ended up buying other properties, and so it was like, it was a tough it was like it sucked a lot of capital. I mean, I had
Yeah.
$80,000 tied up in one of my capital, and the other one the guy funded. I don't even think he funded the renovation on that one actually, but on that one he let the interest accrue, so I didn't have any interest payments, and so I could rent. It was rented like.
So you didn't have any like payments that you had to make?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is nice, you don't. I love when you can make interest accrue with the hard money,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how much? So how much total money in out of your pocket would you say you put in before you got money out?
I was probably close to 100.
Close to 100, and then you got over 100 back.
Yeah, I got like 114 or something.
Okay.
So
essentially, you got 2 duplexes that are cash flowing great.
100%, yeah.
How much would you guess the net cash flow is if you just had to guess on an average month between the two of
It's
them?
probably like like $4,400.
4,400, which is more than the average income of most people.
Yeah. And
So
for me,
this
like
is pretty
I'm just,
good.
Yeah, I'm just, and that's it's probably closer to like $4,000 now that I think about it, but for me, like I'm just trying to build that up and not even look at it,
Yeah.
and just live off of like the daily grind money and get to a point where you're bringing in 20, 30 grand a month.
Yeah, but if people can if people haven't wrapped their minds around this yet, those that are listening,
For
you
sure.
basically, I'm sure there was a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
Were you in there swinging hammers though? No. But you had to coordinate these deals. You did them. You got your money back, plus another 14,000. So the bank gave you $14,000 in addition to all your money back, and you're making about an excess of another 48,000 a year.
Yeah.
So that's just 2 duplexes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Most people can live on that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for
It's
me,
like
it's
life-changing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about for you, but for a lot of people, that would just put them financially independent right there.
Yeah. I didn't even really pay attention to it until I refinanced, and then I do like a monthly book review with my bookkeeper, and I'm like, oh cool, like bringing in that much a month,
Yeah.
like that's awesome. But that's the power of like building up your cash flow. I mean, in the beginning, that's why for me it's like you get a little bit jaded when you've been in real estate for 8 years, and you're like, okay, I'm netting like close to $4,000 a month, but you have one vacancy, right? And
Yeah.
you're not netting that. So if you
don't count on it, but it is nice.
yeah,
when it's
so if you're like
happening.
trying to live off that, it's a little scary. And that's why
Right.
my thoughts like, okay, I need to get this up to 10, 20 grand
Mhm.
a year. But it is cool. I mean, the thing about like flipping houses is like it's the constant, it's like a day job, right? Like it's a constant grind. But like the rental income, like that's always going to be there. There's, of course, you're going to have vacancies here and there, but hopefully you get to a point where you have enough units to where it covers itself.
Yeah, I mean, eventually those mortgages are going to get paid off, and you're going to cash flow even more.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to have to put more work into the properties to maintain them over time.
Yeah.
Now, in your, do you always, on your rentals, do you save away a little bit of money for maintenance over time and keep that separate?
Oh yeah, I don't even touch that money. Like
Okay.
that money comes in. So like the way that I set it up is I have a complete different, like an entity and a bank account for the wholesaling company, an entity and a bank account for the rehabbing company, an entity and a bank account for the rentals.
Okay.
So I don't even pay attention to. I mean, I once a month I'm looking at that with my bookkeeper, but I don't touch that money. That's just there. If we have maintenance, repairs, we'll do it. Yeah, I don't even pay attention to it.
So you meet with your bookkeeper once a month?
I do, yeah. So that's like I was telling you before we started. Like I'm really good at I'm a visionary, and I just drive forward. And then I create this mess behind me, of like
You hire
money
people to clean up
expenses, and So I went through a bunch of different bookkeepers and finally found just an absolute killer. And she's really changed like my whole business for me in terms of being able to know where I'm at. And so once a month, we just did it actually a couple of days ago. We go through every single company.
Mhm.
We go through the P&L. We go through the balance sheet. I'm looking at expenses, like writing it down, like, okay, where did that expense come from? Like that. And making sure, because now, especially when you have employees and you have other people that are, have like a debit card or something, you want to make sure you're tracking what's going on, trust and verify kind of thing. So, yeah, so I think that's been a huge game changer for me.
Okay. So for the people out there listening that really want to be you, they want to be a Danny O'Bannon and dress as well as you and run a business like yours. What kind of recommendations would you give those people who are gonna start building those blocks? What not to do, what to do?
Yeah, I would say just be patient. You're gonna fail, but just be open to that, and just be willing to put yourself out there. Like if there's something that scares you, absolutely go and do that. If it's, if we want to talk like advice on like how to find your first deal, if that's kind of what you're referring to, I can kind of speak on that, but in terms of like,
well, I mean, any kind of general advice that you would immediately, if somebody wanted to be you and be in your shoes someday and have this massive business with employees and really grow the wholesaling business up on a pedestal like yours, that's the kind of advice I'm curious about.
Yeah, I think that's a good question.
Because I think anybody can YouTube how to wholesale a deal.
Right, for sure. For me, I think what I would have done earlier on is I got myself out there, I started learning, and then I kind of got jaded towards the education side of the business. because there's so many gurus out there, and there's
Yeah.
so many people that are just trying to like make money, and they really don't offer value. And that kind of jaded me a little bit. And so I kind of kept to myself and just did one thing, which is really good. I mean, you want to do one thing and master it.
Yeah.
But what propelled me is joining masterminds and getting out there and traveling the country and like seeing how other businesses are, you know, implementing their stuff, because then you grow. And like I talked about before, like having a coach or somebody that can teach you, it's like, you know, LeBron James has like probably 10 different coaches in his life, right? And he's the best basketball player in the world. So,
Yeah.
you know, me as a dumb kid at 22, why wouldn't I have somebody who could mentor me and show me, you know, how to do this at a high level?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, if it's just something you're pretty serious about, I would invest in yourself, invest in your education, and then just build one block at a time. So, you know, you start your marketing, you start searching for deals, and you start making money, you get more leads coming in. You're at a point where like you're doing all the work to where you're about to burst, like you can't do any more of the work. Then you bring somebody on. You know, for me, my first hire was more of an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, you know, your first hire should be somebody for acquisitions. I don't really agree with that. I think I think acquisitions is like the lifeblood of business. You know,
Yeah.
going out and putting deals together is the number one thing that you should be focusing on. And, you know, to just be in the business like 12 months and then hire some random person and you haven't even been doing it that long, you know, you need to get really, really good at that before you hire somebody. So if you can hire an assistant to do like the, you know, like the work that takes you away from like
80% of the admin work and marketing and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Have you ever read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book?
No,
Because
no.
that also has a lot to do with just building any kind of business.
Okay.
Wholesaling, you can take a lot with that, but they have an org chart, like a recommended hiring guideline, and they start off. You want to have an assistant first,
Okay.
and everybody in real estate sales, they want to have a buyer's agent first.
Yeah.
They want somebody else on their sales team, but no, they really recommend get that admin, because 80% of what you're doing is admin work anyway.
Yeah.
Get them, and then get a transaction coordinator, so another person in admin, and then you can finally get a buyer's agent once you have enough income.
100%.
Focus on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would imagine it's similar.
That's how it was for me. I mean, it's weird now because I've spent so much time like in acquisitions and in the weeds of my business, and now that I have, you know, like really dialed in employees in each department. I mean, we're departmentalized now. I mean, we have an acquisitions department where we're just firing away every day. We get some days we get 100 leads in the door, and these guys are just killing it. You know, they're all crushing it, following up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, putting deals together. And so I'm not really in the day-to-day, so now I have to learn, you know, how to truly be like a real leader and a real CEO and have more of like a top-down vision. So it's interesting being in that point, because like yesterday I spent my entire day like in meetings with different departments.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's weird productivity because like you're so used to just like the grind of like being in the weeds, and so when you're just like meeting with people and, you know, leading them or watching them, you know, be leaders within the company, it's a cool thing to see. So
Nice. Do you have any future plans for replacing yourself? That way you can go off and do other businesses?
absolutely, like for me, you know, it doesn't stop with, you know, what we're doing now. I mean, that was the whole point of scaling.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you want to get yourself, you know, in the beginning you're doing acquisition, dispositions, transaction coordination, and it's like you kind of slowly give that away. Now it's to the point where, you know, my goal is I have an operations manager. I would love to have a COO, somebody who can really run the business.
Yep.
Meet with, like, 'cause right now I have direct reports in each department
Mm-hmm.
that I meet with. But you know, it would be nice to just have one person that I'm meeting with, and they're meeting with all the direct reports. That's kind of where we're going this year. And then for me, you know, I want to get into just doing bigger deals. We're doing a lot more, you know, getting land deals under contract, and we're just seeing the value in that. I mean,
Yeah.
wholesaling to developers has been a huge niche that we're kind of jumping into, but
Really? Okay.
ideally I want to actually be the developer. I'm looking at different things. I mean, it's tough for me because I'm a visionary, so there's like, you know, I want to get into like multifamily value add apartments. You know, I want to get into development. build out, a rental portfolio. So it's just really trying to, I'm going to events. I told you I'm leaving tomorrow
Yeah.
to St. Louis and then Florida. And so a lot of that is for me to, just network with people that are doing stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
and kind of pick which niche I want to go after.
Yeah.
But,
There's only
it's
so
something
many
that I've
hours
been
in a
trying
day.
to do for years. But, I've been saying I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But I realize, like, okay, I need to be a little patient, build out this one thing, get it running, get it, be in a well-oiled machine, and then go off and do some more stuff. So that's kind of the next 12 months is what I'm looking at doing now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always aspired to do the exact same thing in the real estate world, or real estate sales world. We've got our admin, we've got our sales team, and I'm almost at the point where I can start working on other side businesses that all kind of relate
Yeah.
with the business. And it's amazing when you have the right team in place, how much you don't have to be there.
100%. Yeah. It's weird.
Because they could just take care of it if they're
Yeah.
rock stars.
Yeah. And it's
Mhm.
cool. It's cool to see people just as invested in, like, the growth of the company as you are,
Yeah.
So I have great, talented people, and it's allowing me to be more free to go off and do stuff like that. So, we do have another company called Call to Scale. We do cold calling services. We built a call center out in the Philippines.
Oh,
And
really?
So we have probably, gosh, I don't even know how many agents. I'd have to ask Nathan, like maybe 15 Filipino agents, and then we have
Uh-huh.
a manager that does all the hiring, the training, the quality assurance. And then because we built that for our own company,
Yeah.
and it was so successful that we're like, wow, we could do this for other investors across the country. So so other investors that are doing what we do, like that want to add the cold call marketing channel to their, to their marketing.
Yep.
We'll do the cold calling for them. So,
Wow.
so we have that company.
I've heard of somebody else doing this.
Yeah.
I heard it on a podcast. I can't remember the name, but that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a few out there. I just know, what works for us. And, for us, direct mail used to be our number one marketing source, but it's so expensive.
It is.
So
Yeah, you were spending
tons of money.
How much were you spending a month at one point?
There was months where I'd probably spend like $30,000
Yeah.
on direct mail. But,
But you got a return.
100%. Like direct mail, you can get, like a 3 to 4x return.
Mm-hmm.
But cold calling, you can get like a 10x return.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
So we built that out, and it worked
Yep.
for us, and so we have that company. So that is another company that we're working on. But a lot of my vision is more direct real estate related, or mostly I would say real estate related for sure.
Are you still doing any direct mail, or did you give all that up?
No, we do some, but it's on a lot smaller scale.
Okay. A lot more like laser focused.
A lot more targeted, yeah.
Yeah. So do you mind sharing who you target in your direct mail, or do you want to keep that a secret?
No, it is really no secret. I'm always happy to share anything. For us, what we did is we just stacked our list. So, there's like, you think about the type of list you can pull in direct mail. So you can pull like absentee owner occupied, whatever, driving for dollars. Like you can combine all those lists, like evictions, probate, right? So there's all those different types of lists. So we pull those lists constantly. We're updating them, and then we have a software that we combine it all into one, and then it tells us if there's an address on, I think lately it's been like 3 or 4 or more lists, then we'll send them a letter.
Okay.
So it's a lot more targeted. Like, okay, they're not only are they going through probate, but they're also behind on their taxes, and it's also a vacant house, right?
Right.
So it's like there's a lot of pain points there. There's a lot of motivation there.
They have to sell.
Right. Like, there's a lot going on. So
they're not just gonna, if they respond, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Right.
Like,
They're like,
help.
Yeah. They're like, oh gosh, this is godsend. But
That's pretty smart. Condense your list.
yeah, for us, it makes sense, especially now that we're in 5 markets. If
Mhm.
we were to be mailing like I used to mail, we'd be spending well over 6 figures just on direct mail,
Yeah.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right. So what's next for you?
Man, like I said, so we're
Find a
just,
replacement.
it's not gonna happen overnight. Like I'm not
Right.
a patient person, but we're getting to a point where like the company's going really strong. it's like I'll probably go back to the office and they'll be like, oh, I just locked up another deal, like it's
Yeah.
so
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's what's next for me, man. It's just getting this thing systemized and then focusing on my next niche, which is going to be bigger deals.
Yeah.
Whether it's development, multifamily, value add apartments. That's kind of the direction I'm going down right now. So
Cool. And you just started a new meetup group.
we did.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we meet monthly. It's the second Thursday of
Yes.
every month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'd love to be there, but we're doing our Sandpoint meeting the second Thursday of each month. But
man, so
I think my assistant showed up to your
okay. Yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah, so we have a big meeting coming up. This guy, he does 30 deals a month, 30 flips a month.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And so we're trying to pack the place. We're hoping to get, at least 200 to 300 people.
Where do you hold it?
So, we're still, like, we just had our first event last month.
Mm-hmm.
We had it at, Treetop Brewery, I think it was.
Okay.
And it was great. We hold like 60 people, but for this event, it's going to be more educational. I mean, this guy's doing some really cool, exciting things. So we're going to have it at probably a big ballroom at a hotel or rent out a place.
Nice.
So we're putting a lot of money into it. We're flying this guy up out of our own pocket, and we're pretty excited because he's doing some like ninja stuff and he's doing
Nice.
a high level. So that's the goal. I mean, we just want to bring. We'll bring local speakers. There's a lot of talent here.
Uh-huh.
But we also want to bring up people that are doing like really, really high level stuff. And our goal, Spokane and like the surrounding areas, it's always been a little bit behind in like real estate investment world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of catching up. But if you notice in like bigger markets, they have really, really dialed in, meetups where people are actually sharing, like really actually giving value. It's not just like just the newbies that show, but it's really high level people that show up. And so we're trying to establish something like that where people that are actually doing deals at a high level and then also newbies that want to learn, where we can all come and share different strategies and basically just lift each other up. Because with this much competition, like, you're not going to get around from it. Like, there's tons of competition no matter what. So the best thing you can do is just collaborate and work together. We started doing that in the wholesaling business. Everybody's really acquisition heavy. We're also acquisition heavy, but we're also very disposition heavy.
Mm-hmm.
We have a killer disposition department, a killer TC, and so we do a lot of JV deals now.
Yeah.
So
Joint venture deals.
Joint venture, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get new wholesalers where if they get deals and they ask us to sell their deals, and we'll get very high level established wholesalers that either they have a deal that they can't sell and they'll bring it to us, and most of the time we're getting them sold.
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of we've also found that people they don't want a huge team. They want to do a few deals a month, make 40-50 grand a month, and so they'll lock up the deals and they'll bring it to us to dispo, and then we handle the TC, we handle the showings, we even if we have to get price reductions, we'll deal with that.
Yeah.
So for us, like, we realize just collaborating with competitors, you're going to go a lot farther than just trying to be closed off or not share any tips or values with people. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, if people didn't share with me. So that's kind of where we shifted our company, and then also with the mastermind, like, we just want to bring everyone together and bring Spokane up in terms of the investment community. So
nice.
Yeah,
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you going to live stream the event at all? Like on Facebook?
I know we're gonna have a videographer there. I don't know if it'll be live streamed, but it'll be completely recorded.
Oh, okay.
So we're still working out the details, but yeah.
Just set up a camera and do the Facebook Live thing through your investment group
Yeah,
page.
there you go. Yeah. So we're working out
Don't
the
let me
details.
tell you what to do.
Well, you got an event. You've been running for a while, so you're probably more professional at it than us. But we're
we still suck at that part. Like, we only live stream it every other time just because of, usually forget or get too involved. But
right.
We're gonna get it dialed in.
Yeah.
We're getting better. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have some. I'm partnered with Josh Sayes. I can never pronounce his last name, but he's also.
Oh, okay, I've seen him.
Yeah, he's doing some cool stuff in the investment community, and so we have a videographer. We get it pretty dialed in, and so I think it's going to be a really good event, especially this next one. So.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate
Man.
it.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll see you around.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to the Investor Shed podcast. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for instant access to all future episodes. If you or someone you know has investing experience or stories to share, reach out to us in the comments or via email.